Hey folks, it's Adriel, the hunting gear guy, and this is the K&M Arms M17S. This is a non-restricted semi-automatic bullpup that they can get here in Canada for right around $2,300, and it's a pretty interesting rifle. Now, before we get too far, let's just check to make sure that it's empty. There's no magazine in here, and I've confirmed that the chamber is empty as well. So, why don't we take a closer look at this rifle? Shooting the rifle is actually very comfortable. I actually really like shooting bullpups. One of the reasons is that you can practically hold them with just one hand because much of the weight is further to the rear. You don't feel like you've got a ton of weight out front that's kind of like harder to hold. So they're very tight, very nice to hold for longer times. Now, the crossbolt safety on this thing, like I showed you there before, is just a little bit odd, but you can just use your index finger to hit that before you're ready to rock and roll. The charging handle is fantastic. Really nice design, really nice and tight, not wobbly at all, and non-reciprocating, very good. You can turn the charging handle from the left side to the right side if you want to, but personally, I think it's on the correct side with being on the left. That's because whenever you're using your manual of arms, you have your left hand free to change the magazines, rack it if you need to. So I think having it on the left hand side is the correct thing for right-handed shooters, but if you don't like it, you can swap it over to the other side. Putting magazines into the rifle is about the same as every other bullpup. It's kind of somewhere underneath your armpit here. I prefer to visually confirm with my eye where the magazine is, and then pop your magazine right in like that. If the bolt was locked to the rear, you could slap the top. I'll cut in some video here to show what that looks like. And when you're taking magazines out, I find it easiest with my left hand to hit the extended magazine release here and then pull it out. Although they will drop free. And one of the things I really like about this rifle is it takes down so easily. It's got captured takedown pins, one at the rear and one at the front here. And they work very basically the same thing as on an AR-15. So I can push that rear one out a little bit and then I can pull it. And now the upper and lower will just separate from each other and pivot on that front pin. Now, one thing that's also great about this rifle is that the bolt assembly just kind of all pops out in one little self-contained unit here. There's your recoil springs there, your guide rods, your bolt carrier and bolt all in one section. So that's it. You know, on an AR-15, they're pretty easy as well, but you got that charging handle that you kind of have to fiddle to get out. Whereas on this, it just kind of, whoop, it just falls out the back, basically. Because it's held in from the rear here by the lower, and everything is really just contained in this unit. So, super easy strip on this thing. If you really want, you can pull that front pin. There's your lower, all one piece, and there's your upper. So super simple on this rifle. Now inside the rear of the upper receiver, you can see the kind of two guide holes there that your guide rods will be going in, and you can also see that chamber with the triangular bolt that kind of heads in there. So super interesting. And other than that, like this upper receiver here is basically just a fore-end, so it's just holding the thing steady. Up at the front there, you can see that adjustable gas block, and you can see how it's affixed to the rifle. There are also some rail sections that you can add in, or some QD mounts that you can add. Now on the firearms lower, you can see there's our magazine release, and it's ambidextrous, so you can use the other side as well. We've got our bolt release right here. And then we've got this trigger pack. This is really interesting. So you see it's this blue trigger pack unit. I believe that this is an Elfman. I know that they were using Elfman for the 308 versions. I think that's what they used for this 5.56 version as well. I'm just going to move the hammer forward. So I'm going to hold on to the hammer and pull the trigger. You can see that that trigger actuates a bar all along the frame here. And that's how it's getting to the back on this Elfman trigger pack. So One of the nice things about about these trigger packs is that the trigger pull on them is so nice and smooth. Now watch the movement on this trigger. I'm just going to hold that hammer at the back there, and you can see not really a lot. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull the hammer back and reset. And that's something that Elfman's really well known for, is a very short reset, very crisp trigger. So this rifle, okay, it's $2,300. It comes with a really good trigger pack in here. These things go, in Canada here, they go for right around $300 to $400, somewhere in that range. So you're getting an upgraded trigger pack in this rifle, and I think that's worth something. It's very nice. I just want to show you guys this bolt carrier group here and all the recoil springs on it and everything. It does have a little bit of a rubber buffer towards the rear here. We've got that triangular bolt head on the front, which should make it easier to clean the lugs inside the barrel extension itself. We've got the firing pin protruding from the rear here, and this thing's got a very smooth turn-in, so there's probably a cam that's just accessible underneath here, and very nice, sorry, a cam pin that'll be under there. Very nice and smooth action on the bolt itself. And part of the nice thing about these dual recoil springs and spring guides on the back is that's going to be very smooth as well. So very smooth action. One of the things, I don't know if you guys can notice, one of these guys at the front here has like a little holder, and the other one doesn't. That's where you'll switch over your charging handle. So the charging handle on this one is built to go on this side, and it's actually a cup that's going over the top of the one on my left, because that's the charging handles on the left, right? So you can switch those over if you so desire. And here's that charging handle I was mentioning. So you'll just have to trust me that it's kind of like a cup and it goes over top that rod. But this is how it just kind of pulls out from the back, and that will act on this rod here and push the entire assembly back. So very solid way of moving it back and forth, and that's where you can get that smoothness out of the non-reciprocating charging handle pull on this rifle. Now, reassembly is, again, pretty easy. I'm going to grab my bolts. I'm going to have the bolt head facing down. I'm just going to kind of wiggle it into place there. I'm going to make sure that that bolt head goes into the recess for it there. Pull it down a little bit. It's ready to go now. Grab my lower receiver. I'm going to go ahead and put that front one on first. There we go. And then I just need to combine the lower and upper. Quick function test. It's all good. I just want to show you guys a couple of the groups that I printed with this thing. This is the best one. This one is .87. Very nice group. That was shot with 45 grain ammo. We've got a 1.62. This one was just shot with PMC 223, so nothing too fancy. And then I've got a 1.19 over here. This one was also shot with PMC. So it looks like the rifle's capable of right around like 1 to 1.5 MOA reliably. But if you worked out the ammo on your rifle, you might be able to find an even more accurate loading for it as well. Now, if you want to lock the bolts to the rear on this gun, the easy way is just to take an empty magazine, pop that into the mag well, and your bolt is locked to the rear. The more difficult way to do this without a magazine is pull the charging handle to the rear, push on the bottom of the bolt catch, and then that'll lock it back as well. Now, I just want to point out a couple of things about this rifle in particular where it differs from a standard one. They don't come with a big scope on the top. I added that one when I was at the range to test for accuracy and that kind of thing. It's nice having a big scope like that. That's actually a 6-24 Citron because I can see my hits at distance. I can see how big the groups are and all that kind of stuff, right? But normally on a rifle like this, I would probably recommend like a 1-4 or a red dot or something that's a little bit lower in magnification, just because this is meant to be a quick pointable firearm. So I would use something like that. Now, if I was to use this thing for coyote hunting, which I could based on the accuracy, I might go for like a 3-9 or a 2-7 or something like that. Still enough magnification to make the hit on a coyote, but not so much that it's ridiculous like the scope I had in the video. A couple other things that aren't factory that you can add on these rail sections if you'd like. This one has a QD mount up towards the front, which is in a fantastic spot. The QD cups on the rear do come with the rifle, so this is the right move to get a QD cup up towards the front, because one of the ways you can carry a rifle like this is with a 2-point sling. So you can imagine one cup back here, one cup up front here, and now that sling could hold this gun to your chest, something like this. Once you're able to do that, then you can go from slung to up on your shoulder very quickly. That's a very comfortable way of carrying a rifle and still have it quick to deploy. Now, in terms of weight, I'm seeing 3.53 kg, which comes out to 7.8 pounds. So it's not that heavy for a semi-automatic rifle. And again, most of that weight is concentrated to the rear. So it is very compact. This is the Canadian version, so this one has a bit of a longer barrel than your traditional ones might come with. But other than that, it's basically the same thing as what you get in the States. Now, I guess my question that I wanted answering with this rifle is this the best semi-automatic bullpup 223 that you can buy in Canada? I think the answer is yes. Okay, the cost is $2,300, and there are some bullpups that are right around $2,500. The Type 97 is around $1,000, but the Type 97's trigger is not very good, not user replaceable. And some of the ergonomics aren't quite as good either. The Type 97 has a safety that's over in your armpit here. This one has a safety that is actuated by your thumb and forefinger, which is okay. This one has a very nice charging handle on it. The T97 has an okay charging handle on the top, but then you can't put a scope on it. This thing's got a very nice rail on top, and it's quite light and pointable. The Tavor is another popular bullpup rifle here in Canada. The triggers on those are not very good, but they are user replaceable. But the triggers are, the last time I looked, were like right around $400. So they're pretty expensive triggers to add on to something like this. When these first came out, the Bushmaster M17s, there were complaints that the forend would heat up if you shot it a lot. This one has quite a few more ventilation holes, so that should help. But if you went really, really crazy, it probably would heat up the forend as well, just because there is a lot of action going on in here. Your gas block is right about here, so there is going to be some heat that'll be generated in here. But I don't think that's going to be an issue unless you go really, really, really crazy with this thing. And that's hard to do in Canada with the magazines we have, right? I mean, you saw this magazine here, but that's, it's got a little neuter pin in there so that it only holds it to 5 rounds. So kind of hard to overheat one of these things in Canada. Now, with the user replaceable grips, with the modularity on the forend, and it all comes like that, and with the weight, I do think this is one of the stronger bullpups here in Canada. We just got in the Kel-Tec RDBs, but those are, I would say, like a different level of quality. They're around $1,500. This one's around $2,300. This one, again, has a fantastic trigger and more sturdy construction with all this aluminum that it's got on here. I think they've made like a higher quality rifle with the M17S. So anyways, that was the K&M Arms M17S. Really nice bullpup. I think this is the nicest bullpup in Canada right now for 223 for the money, even for the money. The T97's okay, but it's not the quality of this one by far. And I think that the extra money that this thing costs is definitely worth it. Man, would I own one of these for coyote hunting? Geez, it's so nice and compact, and with a scope, the accuracy was there. Maybe. So in the end, super cool rifle, Probably the best bullpup that you can buy in Canada right now for right around $2,300. Very nice features on it. Fantastic trigger. Oh man, how come the other manufacturers don't include like a fantastic trigger like an Elfman in their rifles these days? It makes the price point super palatable. And this is a very cool rifle. I wanted to thank Slamfire radio listener Ian for sending this rifle to try it and review. And yeah, very nice rifle, Ian. And I'm going to put it in the mail and get it over to you shortly. Thanks for watching.